When the People's Republic of China was founded in 1949, it was one of the poorest nations on Earth. Decades of war, foreign occupation, and civil strife had left its economy shattered. Most people were peasants living on tiny plots of land. Life expectancy was low, infrastructure was weak, and industry was almost non-existent. Few would have predicted that within a single lifetime, China would become the world's second largest economy and a global superpower. In the early decades of communist rule under Mao Zedong, China pursued a centrally planned economy. Land was collectivized, industries were nationalized, and the state controlled nearly every aspect of production. Campaigns such as the Great Leap Forward aimed to transform China overnight into an industrial giant, but instead caused famine and hardship. By the 1970s, China was isolated diplomatically and still extremely poor. Everything began to change in 1978 when Deng Xiaoping launched a bold series of reforms known as Reform and Opening Up. Instead of clinging to rigid central planning, Deng allowed farmers to lease land, keep profits, and sell surplus crops. Special economic zones were created in coastal cities like Shenzhen, where foreign investment and private enterprise were encouraged. These zones became laboratories of capitalism inside a socialist country. Productivity soared, and millions began moving from farms to factories. Through the 1980s and 1990s, China doubled down on export-led growth. It became the world's workshop, producing everything from textiles to electronics at massive scale. Foreign companies brought technology, capital, and know-how, while Chinese workers provided cheap, disciplined labor. Infrastructure exploded. Highways, ports, power plants, and entire cities were built at a speed never before seen. Hundreds of millions of people were lifted out of poverty in the fastest economic transformation in human history. In 2001, China joined the World Trade Organization, giving it full access to global markets. By integrating into the international system, it became the backbone of supply chains for Western companies. As the economy grew, so did national pride and geopolitical influence. China invested heavily in education, high-speed rail, renewable energy, and cutting-edge technologies such as 5G and artificial intelligence. It also began building its own global initiatives, like the Belt and Road, to extend its reach abroad. The results are staggering. In 1980, China's GDP per capita was less than $200. Today, it's over $12,000. Cities such as Shanghai and Shenzhen have skylines rivaling New York and Tokyo. China is now the world's largest manufacturer, the biggest trader of goods, and a leading force in green energy, space exploration, and digital finance. Hundreds of millions have joined a growing middle class with aspirations that would have been unthinkable 2 generations ago. But the rise is not without challenges. Income inequality has grown. Environmental damage from decades of breakneck growth is severe, and an aging population threatens future dynamism. Internationally, tensions over trade, technology, and security are reshaping China's relationship with the West. Yet, despite these headwinds, China continues to invest in innovation, infrastructure, and global partnerships to sustain its momentum. China's journey from poverty to superpower is a story of pragmatism, discipline, and long-term planning. It shows how a country can reinvent itself by blending market forces with state direction, opening to the world while maintaining its own model. It also demonstrates the power of education, infrastructure, and hard work to lift millions out of poverty. Understanding China's rise helps us see the forces reshaping the 21st century. It is no longer just a participant in the global system. It is a shaper of that system. Whether one views this with admiration or concern, the transformation is one of the most significant events of our time. From famine and isolation to high-speed trains and space stations, China's story is proof that even the poorest nations can change their destiny with the right mix of vision, reform, and perseverance.